We teach them about the Boston Tea Party. We teach them about space, but have you ever thought of taking them to space? Or use Skype. Bring authors into your classrooms. Books anyway are not that interesting for students to hold and read these days, and we must face that. Well, to make it interesting, bring in an author. Let him create the hype around it. Mystery Skype is something that I'm going to talk about just in a minute. Until then, I'm going to take you to the collaborative projects. There are so many collaborative projects that are going on in the MIEE community. I think by the week, if you go at least every week, you will have at least one collaborative project which is going to be global, which is going to give your students a global exposure. So you must look out on the Facebook page. That's where we post all of that. Teachers being teachers never stop teaching. So when New York was facing its superstorm Stanley, there was a classroom which was visiting New York from Boston, and what they was the teacher took a laptop, asked these students to her students back home to your families. What do people feel are the problems? So you're bringing actually a practical way of teaching students in a very collaborative manner. Teachers can show and talk about experiments live. Not all the schools have all the resources. What about tying up with the ones that have? Why not tie up with the teachers to bring to you those experiments? I'm going to show you an example as we move on. And after school help, why I said, I'm not too sure how it happens in your country, but in our country, children do take tuitions, they do go to tutors. So why go to tutors and why take tuitions? Well, I'll give them after school help using Skype. This is a Skype session in action between students of Malaysia and India. It has happened very recently. And what we saw was active learning. Can you see in each and every picture that learning is happening in every corner? Every child is thinking. They're learning from each other. They connected, they collaborated, and they were communicating. Mystery Skype, in a session of Mystery Skype, you have a set of questions, and the other team answers as a yes or a no. So that's the guessing game that they play to locate each other on the map. If you see a student over there doodling on a map next to a laptop, so it's just not a laptop that they're working on or a computer. You do need your pen and paper, and you're still thinking. So this is basically a common life conversation that happens between two classes where you try and guess each other's locations, and then you can take it beyond that, and there's no dearth of how far can you go. And you could take it to cultures, food, places, and so on. You just have to think about what all can you collaborate on. What do you think that is? Well, that actually learning by doing is the best, but experiencing something live is a great alternative. Like I said, teachers can show and talk about experiments live in their lab via Skype. So even if you have an aquarium which is not in your city or not in your country, you could be requesting an aquarium far away to be there for you to show your students live. The biology class actually comes to life when they see those different types of sea animals through via Skype. It becomes all the more meaningful. More closer you bring them to learning, better they're going to learn. Interaction. I think students learn from thinking. Thinking is engaged by activity. So if I put you in front of this screen and I ask you to listen to me, believe you me, I know it's boring. Therefore, I started with an interactive session so that even if I cannot see you, I still have you with me when I'm talking to you. And I hope you're still listening and I'm not boring you.
We're listening.
Great, fantastic. Microsoft has provided us a very safe tool to interact. It's called Yammer, and we've taken Yammer in various places to communicate and collaborate. It's a very, very safe social learning website. So when we are discussing so many things of handling a topic in our class, normally what happens is there are questions that come up which cannot be answered in those 40-minute or 1-hour period because I have an agenda and I have a learning objective to meet. Therefore, I carry these questions to my Yammer group. I post them onto the Yammer group and let it stay live between me and my students to answer, post more questions and seek more answers and keep answering and hold discussions. Sometimes we've even had the brainstorming session or a debate or an essay using YAML, which is wonderful. Again, we've taken this beyond. We have been through workshops just like you are right now in a workshop, and we put up a question and we get your responses through the YAML group, the network. And what happens is here the learning doesn't stop. Even if I stop meeting you after half hour, the meeting actually doesn't stop. It keeps carrying on. It becomes a part of you become a part of their community, and you can interact with them anytime. Because what happens is what you hear and you listen over here, when you go and implement, there are so many things that you will want to know. I got stuck here. Now what do I do? You have to have somebody to go back to and ask. These are the platforms where we have gone around and asked, I think, the most silliest and the most intelligent questions that we could, because this is peers we are talking to. We don't fear going wrong. So basically what we are doing here is we are moving learning as a solo sport to a learning in a collaborative team sport. Classrooms are becoming computerized. They are already computerized. We have so many tools which can help us, but we do not forget that we do have places where we still have limited resources, limited laptops, or limited computer access, or limited internet access for that matter. Well, I think it's more of an onus on the teacher for planning, and these things can be ironed out in many, many ways. I'm just going to talk about that in the next few slides. I'll just pause here to say, if you have any questions, can I request you to please keep penning them down. I would not want any question lost anywhere. Towards the end of the set, I actually kept about 15 minutes for just interacting and talking to you, so we'll talk lots. Okay. This is a tool that I'm sure you have heard of it. I've seen your agenda, and I know you have learned many, many tools since morning, and you will be exposed to many more during the day. What I can say is right now I'm going to talk about is OfficeMates. As fancy as it sounds, it is a very fancy tool to use because you sound really cool in your class if you're using OfficeMates. I see in your agenda till now you haven't used it. It's alright. It's a small add-in in the PowerPoint. I'm going to show you right on my screen where it is and how it works. All you do is you may give power to the PowerPoint. So combining a PowerPoint plugin and a cloud service, which is OfficeMates, you can turn into a cloud-hosted interactive lesson. How? I'm going to show you one of the examples of what I have done in my class. I'm going to give you an example of grade 4, my school. So here we teach them, in science we teach them a topic called photosynthesis, and this is one of the books that we use. This is actually an online book which is available, and this is the book that we use to make the concept easier for students to understand. Grade 4 photosynthesis, a big word, a little difficult to understand. Not all children in our class are come from similar backgrounds, and they do have English language issues too. Therefore, we have to keep a text which students are familiar with. Normally what we would do is, if I did this is from the time when we had only computers available in my computer room. So if I had to show them students anything, I had to book a room with a projector where I could share this with them, that I would download it and keep it and then show it. Right now, things have become much better. So this is a book that we use for teaching photosynthesis. You might see some funny stuff coming in because I haven't really modified the slides. They are as they were for my students. So this is basically a story about sunbeamers and chlorophyllis, and so the characters come in. So from here, I'm not only taking care of my science concept, but I'm also teaching them how to read with voice modulation, which is actually my English language learning objective. So one is that I can read it live to them. But students sometimes find it very boring when you're reading a book to them. What do? You turn tables, you give it to them, you put things in their lap and let them read it. what I do is I just create a video for them and let them hear it. I'm not going to bore you with the entire one, so I'm going to let you hear part of it. And please let me know if you can't hear it.
We're waiting for it to load. There's a little bit of a delay on your screen sharing, I think.
Okay.
So, do you teach your classes about photosynthesis? Yes? Yes. What age?
Okay, could you hear that?
No.
No? Okay, I'll just try once more, else we'll just move on.
No, but we see the picture of the bear.
Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on. So here what I'm trying to tell you is the whole purpose of a PowerPoint is to give power to a point. If we want to bring some point in focus, that's exactly what we do. I'm going to take it off the screen mode. I'm going to show you that if this is your PowerPoint, this is where the mix is. And if I want a preview of what I have made, I'm going to just press the preview button, and I hope you'll be able to at least see things happening, if not, hear it. What I wanted you to show was that even if you don't have a tablet, the inking facility in the mix gives you the ability to bring focus to the key points that you want to convey. It's loading. Let's see if it goes up.
We can see a tree that says time to work next to it.
That's right. You'll just see inking happening on the screen. Can you see now the lines being drawn? Under oxygen and carbon dioxide. I'm drawing students' attention to that.
Yeah.
So water nutrients just got highlighted.
Yeah,
so what I'm trying to tell you here is that you just need to be a guide on their side. We really don't need to be the stage reading out and telling them everything. Rather, we could be a guide on the side, doing things for them and with them.
So what you just showed,
and I think if they're,
it was hard for you guys to see, but what you showed is how the tree started to animate, and there was things that were popping up like oxygen. Is that correct?
Yes. Correct. You're trying to bring attention to their specific words. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's hard for you guys to see on this, but that's
you see this slide.
Yes, great, cool. And this is something you can do with Office Mix, right?
Exactly. So this is something they can do when they are ready to learn. We don't really need to really put it in their face and say, learn now. So if you're not in a mood to learn, it's alright. I'm going to give it to you and you can learn it at your convenience. Always ready to learn, although I do not like always being taught. Well, yes, we understand. You don't like being taught. We give it to you, you learn it at your convenience. This is again a video. Sometimes you would record a video, but quick understanding. Well, you check understanding by putting a quiz. Office Mix actually gives you the power of inserting quizzes at various stages. So while students are reading, they have to answer their quizzes. Well, the next question that comes is, how do you know this one started or not? Well, there are analytics. Analytics in this Office Mix will tell me exactly which student, how many times visited this video, how much time did this child spend on this slide, did he answer this question or not. So it's a very quick and efficient way to assign and track documents, and I think it's worked very well for me to flip the classroom, put the onus of learning into there now. So what is Office Mix? And in your PowerPoint, and I think by now, if you're an expert, you know what a PowerPoint is. Am I right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So, The slide that you saw was from a visit that we took. Not all students are able to go on all class visits. So what we do is we video record, or we make a collection of pictures and I record my voice and I make it available to students. When we take them out, there is so much to watch out there that they might not be paying attention to my learning objective. But that doesn't mean I'm going to let the trip go waste. So I record that and I put my voice into it and I try and bring the focus to the things that they want to learn. So aim here of whatever I'm telling you is just to help you save time and to make learning more effective. Creating more effective learning spaces, you can create multiple learning spaces if you have Microsoft technologies, if you have particularly OneNote. Well, I think it's a boon that's come to our lives as teachers, and if you can provide immediate feedback using real time, you could co-create and collaborate using Office OneNote and quickly and efficiently assign and track documents. Creating collaborative learning spaces is what I'm talking about. You can create and co-create. I think somebody in the room can see his name on the screen. Am I right, Adhika?
Yeah, hold on one second. I think we're a little behind you. We're still on the slide that says aim is just to help you to save time. That's the slide we're on right now.
That's right. So this is a project that I did last year with these MIEs, and we were about 60 countries who contributed. It was called A Day in the Life of My Student. So I think you can work collaboratively. I know of 200 students who can work together in a OneNote notebook, and there is no problem. Real-time feedback is something that we are talking about when the student is writing. You go stand next to him and correct him to say, you know, do this and you do that. And when you do that, what happens is the student gets conscious. He wants to know what the problem is. So, okay, my slides are lagging. I'm sorry, I came back to this. We're lagging a bit. We're not reading pictures. Okay. Can you see it now?
Creating effective learning spaces.
We're on creating effective learning spaces. That's what we can see right now.
Okay, so can you see differentiation, providing personalized assignment and notes for students who need extra practice?
No, I think it's lagging a little bit.
Okay, so I'm going to wait for that, but I'll keep talking as I go because I can say a lot rather than just showing you. With OneNote, when you go and stand next to a student, even if I come in and stand next, debating, so the student gets conscious. Why make him conscious? If you have a collaborative working environment, the learning space is so private that you could sit on your screen and doodle up a particular comment to one particular child, and that child knows that my teacher's keeping an eye on me without being standing next to me, or without really showing those googly eyes to me. So I think it's a very effective way of working, and it fits many learning styles.
We actually just lost your desktop, but we did see the co-create slide before we lost your desktop.
Okay.
Who in here has used OneNote in the classroom before? How many hands is that? Just a few? OneNote in the classroom. Anybody? I see one hand only. 2 hands. So I think that we definitely should deep dive on OneNote today because it's an amazing tool, and she's gonna. Now we're back up. We see differentiation, providing personalized assignments. That's where we see you at right now.
Okay, great. So what I was talking about was differentiation. Basically, what you do is when you're dealing with students, there are many learning styles in the room. There are students who might get stuck at some of the other steps, but they necessarily don't want want to be interrupted, or they don't want anyone to know that they need help. So here, if you are on a tablet and working on a OneNote, you could engage. Even if you're not on a tablet, even if you're on a computer, you could just share your comment with one particular child, giving him one particular clue to how to move on to the next step. So that's how you fit in many learning styles. In fact, OneNote has worked wonders for us. So if you haven't really tried, just go on OneNote.com, download, use it. And it's like the diary that you hold. So it has many sections, and along with the sections, within each section you have pages. So you could actually treat it like your own personal diary. That's what we treat it as. So if a child cannot learn in the way we teach, we must teach in a way the child can learn. And I hope I've been able to talk about it. I'm going to now stop talking because I think I've talked enough. And I'm going to leave it open for everyone to talk to me. May I have your questions, please?
Great, thank you. Did anybody start writing their questions down that we can, or would you like to ask her questions? First person want to come up? Yeah, go ahead. You can speak right into the microphone.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I'm Abdullah by name. During your presentation, there was actually one of those slides that transited like we have it in 3D form. I was actually amazed at such a presentation. I mean, such a slide. Can you share the script? How is it done? I mean, the slide that transited like 3D format, like a box from one page to the other. So can we know how it is done? I mean, the technicality behind it. Thank you.
I want to know what transition you use.
Transition in Office 2010 above.
It would be great if somebody could either repeat because the voice wasn't here. I didn't want to interrupt you, so you could either type or just talk to me about it.
Can you hear me? He wanted to know
the
transition that you use to the slide transitions. He likes the way the box slide transitions.
That's super easy. I'll tell you what, I'll show you how to do that. That's actually super easy. That's like, can you see the PowerPoint now?
Yeah.
So if you go to transition.
It's coming up.
Okay.
Because I was wondering what's that.
I can also show you guys as well on here. If you go to transitions in here, there's different ways that you can transition the slides. So for example, you can push the slides up, you can wipe them, flip them. I think you did the cube transition. Was that the one you used?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can see it on the screen. Under transition, you have none, and here's the box. So you can have doors, you can have cubes, you can have box, you can have a gallery.
Great, thanks. And I'll continue to show them that afterwards as well, if there's a live here.
And let me tell you, I too learned this at one of the presentations that we had in Dubai. I found it super cool when somebody was doing this, and I caught it right there and then. So whoever asked me this, you're on the right track. Do not shy away from asking questions. Just ask away.
Great. What other questions do we have in the room? No questions? Don't feel shy.
I know when somebody asks you to ask a question, normally not many questions pop up. So I'm going to leave my Twitter handle with you. I think you have it already.
We have another question actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think that there's a sweet spot of where the microphone can hear you, so we're just having them come up. This is one of our MIEE fellows.
Yeah, hi.
Okay, this wasn't clear. You'll have to repeat that. I'm sorry, that wasn't clear at all.
Okay, assuming you want to train on one note, is there like a simplified plan that MIEs can use to train other teachers on OneNote?
Did you
Okay,
hear
I know
that?
the question is about OneNote. No, I couldn't hear, but I know it's about OneNote.
A simplified training plan for OneNote, a simplified way for them to get up to speed on OneNote.
Okay, you'll have to, actually, the voice is breaking badly, so you'll have to go really slow so that I can catch it.
Is there a simplified way that they can learn about OneNote?
Okay, I got you. You want to know if there is a simplified way about learning OneNote? Well, let me tell you, the first rule of swimming is you need to get into the water. So you have to first let it come on screen. And when it comes on screen, you'll see that this is very similar to the Word, the Microsoft Word or the PowerPoint. The ribbons are absolutely familiar. So you wouldn't want to really explore this yourself, I think. But if you want to learn, yes, OneNote.com has plenty of videos, many put up by some of our MIEs also, so they are absolutely interactive. And of course, we are always there. If you want any question, like I said, you have my Twitter handle, you can write to me on my, you can email me your questions. I'm more than happy to answer them.
Great. I have one other question for you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Great. So many of our teachers only have a single computer lab to use for the entire school. And I think you mentioned that you used to have a situation like that. Can you tell us some suggestions when you don't have it in the classroom all the time, but maybe you could get access to a lab once a week? What are some tips for best using that time?
All right. What I get from you is that I think limited access to the computers. Am I right?
Yes. Maybe only once a week
Yes.
teachers could bring in the class. So what's the best use of that time?
See, number one, you should never let logistics come in the way of your teaching. And I think just like a book, textbook, computer is just an enabler in your class. Learning cannot stop with just one computer, just like it cannot stop with a few books. When you need a particular book that cannot be made available to all the students in the class, what you do is you go and get it issued from the library. So you pre-plan and you go and register yourself for the same. That's the policy that we took up, and we said whoever wants it needs to pre-block it. And we used to block timings for that computer. Working was scheduled, and there were registers that were put up where we had to say that, at this time, for this much of time, I'll be using this room or this computer. And it worked. And not always do students need to be on the computer. They could take turns. So we actually had a bus stop activity where, when students are writing something, they're going to be on the writing table. When they need to research, only then will they go to the research table, use the computer, they take down their notes or maybe even printouts. That's what we allowed at that time, and carry it to the next table where you start thinking about the material that you've researched, because computer or these resources can only have a limited role to play in your class. They cannot be running your class. So if you organize or pre-organize or pre-plan, I think it's much smoother. Did that help?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Any other questions before we let her go? This has been a great presentation. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you. I've enjoyed thoroughly, especially because you were talking to me, you were interacting with me. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome.
Bye-bye. Great learning day.